What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Pugilism, aka MKO Boxing, where we talk all things box. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. So, yeah, the co-main event for Saturday evening on Netflix, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, is going to be Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. Now, Regis Prograis has a good resume, quite a deep resume. But lately his form has been pretty poor. Taking recent losses to Devin Haney a little while ago, I forget, about a year or so ago, that fight. And then he's also taken a beating from Jojo Diaz. So he's been on pretty poor form lately. Excuse me. Although he's got a good history and a good resume, I was live at his fight versus Josh Taylor, and he gave Josh Taylor a real run for his money. You could even argue, you could even give him the Josh Taylor fight. It was that close, but I thought Taylor won. But he really ran him close, and yeah, he's been at the very top level. But the problem is that coming into this fight, he's he's up at 150 pounds, which is just above welterweight. It's between welterweight and light middleweight or super welterweight, however you define it. So he's coming up in weight. His best weight was at 140 pounds. Been a world champion there and achieved what there is to achieve there. And as for Conor Benn, his last fight, as we all know, was against Chris Eubank Jr. He put on a stellar performance there. He outboxed Chris Eubank Jr., sort of boxed on the outside and was in and out and beat up Chris Eubank Jr. And, he done everything but stop Chris Eubank. However, I'd say there's a bit of an asterisk by that victory that although Conor Benn did improve, he was in there against a guy that was very clearly weight drained. He was a skeleton of himself. He could hardly throw a punch. Eubank was just, he was a shell of himself in that fight. He was horrible. He just wasn't. It just is one of those where, however he prepared, it didn't work, and he just was basically in there as a ghost, as a skeleton of himself. So yes, great performance by Benn, but Chris Eubank Jr. was what he was. He was a shell of himself. He couldn't, he was basically unable to do anything in there due to how he prepared. So he's coming off that performance and he's having to come down in weight now to 150. Prograis coming up. And yeah, to me, Conor Benn, again, he's one of those fighters that we don't really know how good he is, because his best victories have been that Eubank fight with that caveat there, and the victories over Van Heerden and Chris Algieri as well. Those are victories against guys that, yes, we know Algieri is a former world champion, but again, a sort of smaller guy coming up and way past his best. So it's kind of hard to gauge where Conor Benn is based on that, and even based on the Eubank fight, because he's not really been in there as yet against a world-class welterweight that's not a smaller guy coming up. And this again is one of those fights where it's, on paper, Prograis done a lot, great career, but when we look at the reality, Prograis is a much smaller man, 140-pound man, light welterweight, and he's coming up basically to light middleweight to fight Conor Benn, and he's coming off of a performance that was very, very poor and basically a beating off of Jojo Diaz. So this is one of them that going into this, I can only really pick Conor Benn because Prograis coming in on bad form, and they're trying to kind of sell it based on his past, but we've got to look at reality, and the reality is he's coming off of a bad performance against Jojo Diaz. He's looked quite shaky. I don't know about the camp. They've been saying, well, his camp's been bad, or he's been injured, or something untoward has happened in the camp. That I can't confirm or deny, but based on his recent form, based on the size and weight discrepancy, for me, I've got to go with Conor Benn. I've got to go with Conor Benn here, and I think Conor Benn gets this done in a kind of sloppy performance. I'm not sure if we're gonna see the best of Conor Benn, because again he's had to come down in weight to 150, and depending on how he's done the weight, how he's prepared, I think this is a fight where he's gonna, it might be a bit scrappy, but I'm picking Conor Benn to win this one by probably on points or late stoppage. I think Conor Benn, he's got enough in there. He's quite a powerful puncher, and he can be quite explosive. And if he's comfortable, if he's good at the weight, and he's got a spring in his step at 150, I think he can definitely get Prograis out of there, who hasn't really been looking at his best lately. And although he's been saying to Conor Benn, this is about levels, I agree with him, it's about levels, but also you're the man that's coming up and you're not in your prime where you could demonstrate or show those levels. So for me, this is definitely a win for Conor Benn. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.